Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the European launch of Disney Plus. We'll be talking about all the new DisneyNature stuff that's going to be coming to Disney Plus next week. We'll also be talking about our thoughts of Be Our Chef, the brand new Disney Plus series. Maybe even a little bit about Mulan and Black Widow as well, because there's lots of rumors and stuff swinging around there. And also a possible hint at some upcoming content that was revealed in a survey. But before we go into any of that, just a big thank you to all of our patrons, including Andrew, Giuseppe, Julie, and What's on Netflix. It makes all of the difference having support from you guys, even just from a small amount, especially at the minute. It just helps keep the podcast going. When, as you can see, we're kind of doing it a bit differently now. I'm recording from home because I can't actually go to work. So it's all like different times and stuff. And it's kind of quite weird doing it in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday, on a sunny day. I should be at work, but it feels a bit weird. But nevertheless, if you haven't already done so, make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com and join our Facebook group. Lots of people in there discussing stuff. We're up to about 126,000 members in that Facebook group right now. So big stuff. So before we get into all the news, obviously this week's a bit different because most of us have started to be home. So what have you been watching?
A lot of different things, honestly. And, you know, we've got such a backlog of movies and television shows, not just from Disney, but all over the place. So just been kind of digging into that. So on the Disney side, I've been watching Gargoyles, which is what I've been wanting to watch, you know, since it was first announced on Disney Plus, but there's always been something else to kind of go in the place. And I tried out stuff that I hadn't watched before, like Gravity Falls and things. And no, this week I just need some comfort food. We're going Gargoyles. And I watched, I think, like 20 episodes of it. I mean, they're only half-hour episodes, but it's still, it's a significant amount for me because I don't typically binge.
I'll be honest, I've been trying to avoid watching television during the day. I was just trying to get to the thing of like, when my wife would come back from hospital, then we would sit down and watch television. So I've been sitting down in television just watching it with her and trying to keep myself busy during the day. Luckily with the European launch, it's been pretty busy on the website, so I've been doing bits and pieces of that. But did watch The Lion King. I'm literally was just watching just before we come on air, Rise of the Skywalker. I was sent a copy for review purposes, so I'm just kind of watching that and then going to go through all the extras and stuff. So I've been doing that one. Like I said, watching a few bits and pieces. The Incredible Dr. Poe, we started watching that one. Shop Class, Be Our Chef. Been doing that. A few different things, get my wife to watch it because now we can watch it on the big screen. You know, we can fire it up now on our smart TV. I didn't think my smart TV was going to be able to get Disney Plus because it's a little bit older, but it did. But I'll get into that a bit later on. But being able to watch Disney Plus properly on the big screen, my wife now can just fire it up whenever she wants on the TV. And it's quite nice just being there. Just it's so much easier than it's been up till now. There are obviously some differences that we'll get into a bit later on, but just jumping around a little bit and just having a look and seeing what's on there and messing about a bit and just kind of, I haven't really been wanting to watch a huge amount because there's been a lot of TV shows that we're kind of jumping in and trying out. And in some ways I'm trying to pace myself because this could be the case for at least 6 to 12 weeks. So therefore I've just kind of got that feeling going, we need to just pace. Let's just take it slowly, get into different series at different times and try some different bits and pieces out. But it is nice now being able to kind of fire it up in the morning and just kind of be able to watch. Because I'm getting to that. I think I've got to that point now where I no longer want to watch the news anymore. Now I want to watch something, a cartoon. It's like, for that, all this week it's been like news. And now I'm getting to the end of the first week of being locked in. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I need away from this. So I think I'm going to be watching more and more of it as it kind of goes on. And now it's properly available as well. It just makes life a lot easier. So let's jump into the news. So let's start off with the European launch since we're there anyway. It's launched on Tuesday in a number of different countries across Europe. So just go through those countries again. So it's the UK, Ireland, Spain, Germany, Italy, Austria, and Switzerland. The France release got pushed back a week because due to the request of the European Union, or due to their government. So they've had to pull that back a little bit. Also, a quick note as well here in the UK, the Isle of Man and also the Channel Islands, they're going to be getting it in about a week next week as well. They, for some reason, they're technically not really part of the UK, but they are part of the UK. But it's kind of weird. I mean, every single on the local news, they always cover stuff goes on in the Channel Islands. So I didn't even think to the fact that they wouldn't have got it. But yeah, they'll be getting it like tiny little islands. But yeah, I think it was a little bit similar to what happened in the US with Puerto Rico, where they didn't get it bang on the same time as everybody else. But the European launch, it seems to have gone very smoothly. It was a lot smoother than the US launch. I mean, obviously you had some technical issues and people not being able to get in and use passwords and issues with maybe not using the right bit of app. But generally, it's a much smoother launch than the US. There's been a lot of problems trying to get through to the call centers and to the helpline. And I don't necessarily think that was just the fact of there being problems. I just think because they've had to shut a load of them down and there's not as many people in the call centers because of the virus, they've had to be they've even put out a warning saying, it's going to take some time. They're going to get through it all. So just try and get on the live chat. And most of the times I would suggest try a password reset, maybe uninstall and reinstall the app. Most of the time that's probably going to work it. But obviously there's a lot of people kind of trying to work it out. As well as that, a lot of people at home, I think it was, one of the estimates was at least 5 million downloads on like devices alone. That doesn't include like smart TVs and consoles, which was 2 million higher than the US launch, because obviously there's a whole host of countries locked in. In some ways, it was the perfect week and perfect time for a streaming service to launch in Europe, because there are so many people at home, so many people. I saw it even on my Facebook feed with my friends and family that I work with and people I've met over the years. People coming, oh, I've got it, oh, I've got it. I'm going, oh, okay, this has gone past just my Disney friends. This has gone into a whole host of different people. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's great. It's nice to see kind of people jumping in at TV, adverts running. I think this has been it's been a pretty good launch, especially compared to the mess of the US one, which was really sluggish and was quite, I think that helped by not having all the Hulu, ESPN login IDs and, it just seemed a lot smoother. And also the app's been running for 6 months nearly now. So it's a lot more stable in some ways.
Yeah. And you would hope so, because taken from the American launch, you would then go, all right, well, all the software is working. Really all that they need to set up is the hardware, make sure the localizations are properly. So if you get in Spain, it's in Spanish and stuff like that. But yeah, much, much smoother. And yeah, the timing is just right for this, and also for Animal Crossing. I know my friends have been talking about Animal Crossing all week. It's a video game for Switch, but obviously it's not a reason you want it to go well. No. But yes, it is the right timing, and it kind of offsets that. Well, Onward's got destroyed at the box office. Black Widow's getting delayed. Mulan's getting delayed, etc. But it's the one little happy spot where we can go, well, at least we've got the entire Disney back catalog. I know the competitors that don't have one yet are rushing to try to get everything ready as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well as that, signups in the US were triple what they were the week before. Everyone kind of got locked away, which was kind of expected. I mean, you'd expect that to happen. But I think it's, in general, there are a lot of calls, obviously, for Disney to launch early in other regions. There was a lot of, but it's not really quite as simple as just them turning on the switch. They've kind of got to do it bit by bit. I'm sure they would love to get it out there in Latin America early and get it out in Asia, but it's, resources. Everybody's working from their home now. It's so much harder for them to do everything. Everything's being done through video calls and stuff. So, just getting free engineers into a server in a country can't even happen. A lot of this is, I think there's a lot of people kind of like asking for everything to be put on and everything, we're all home, so we should all get it now. We all want to get it now. And it's like, it's not going to work like that. It can't work like that, because there's just nobody to do it, or the people that are working on stuff are doing other things. I think there are going to be some impacts of what they are going to do and get things to us quicker. But, people calling for like them to release like The Mandalorian and season 2 and Falcon and the Winter Soldier early. It's like, they haven't finished them. They're not ready. And they're delayed. They're going to be delayed. I mean, the whole schedule and the rule book just has to get thrown out the window now. You can't take a 2 to 3 month break from doing everything and expect it not to have that knock-on effect. And I might as well mention it now. I mean, this whole thing about like Mulan and Black Widow, of everybody like saying about the fact of rumors of them doing digital and not. It's like, yeah, I would suspect they have had talks about releasing it early on digital and maybe going to Disney Plus at some point. But it's the knock-on effect of, if they release Black Widow, say on May the 1st on digital, and then when it comes to November, when Eternals is supposed to come out, Eternals isn't done. And then the one after that is not done, and the one after that. And so if there's a 3-month delay on this, it's a 3-month delay on every single project they're working on right now, and they're going to need to push everything back. So I know there's a lot of call for people to kind of to do this, but there's a lot of money to be made, a lot of advertising to be lost, and also they're going to need the things that were going out in, say, for example, September, are probably now going to be more likely coming out in December. So, you know, it's this knock-on effect of everything. And I think a lot of people have just kind of getting this thing of like, I want everything now. And it's like, it's if they do that now, there'll be nothing for us to watch in the summer. That'll be it.
No. I mean, at that point, assuming you're only subscribed to Disney Plus, you'll be sitting there going, oh yeah, this thing that's designed for 3-year-olds, that's like the only thing I haven't watched now. Let's try that out. And that will be the kind of area we're at. And I think a lot of people, it hasn't kind of sunk in how long this is going to go on for. We're not going to go into that. I think people would rather hear about happy things, but yeah, there's a lot of factors here. And the number of people who seem to think that not just Disney, but like all of the companies have fully completed shows that they're just sitting on astounds me. And like, movies are typically done literally within 24 hours of the premiere. You know, if you watch almost any movie documentary, and it doesn't matter if you're talking like the big blockbusters or, you know, the little rom-com that's got 3 people in it and takes place in 3 rooms, normally post-production is done like 24 hours, and there's stories of people going, get the reel onto the disc right away so we can get it to the theater now. And there's just isn't this situation where Disney's sitting there going, yeah, we got Mandalorian seasons 2, 3, 4 done, but we don't want to release them right now. No, they will be released when they're done.
Apparently, like, production is still, like post-production and pre-production is still all going on back at people's house. I know the guy that is making the new Phineas and Ferb movie for Disney Plus. He's basically been doing it all from home. All the animators are doing stuff from home, and they're kind of this weird thing for them of saying they're finishing this movie at home. It doesn't feel right. So they're still working on that. So there is still stuff, you know, the animation on movies and series and even stuff with the Mandalorian and stuff will still be carrying on what people can do, but obviously it's going to be limited. But just have to be aware of that. I think we are going to have a big dip going forward. I want to kind of get into the dip a little bit later on. Also, just sort of swooping back around now to the European launch as far as me personally using it. I have been finding on my smart TV that my smart TV is really struggling with the app. It seems to run the actual software, the movies fine, but the app seems to be so slow and so sluggish trying to get in, especially when you get into the TV section. It's really struggling. And I was surprised that my TV was going to do it because it is 4 years old now. And it was like, it's fine if I wanted to fire up like Lion King, you can sort of see it, press it, plus. But if I had to go in and find an episode, it would just be taking forever to go. So I have been sort of firing up on the Xbox and really noticing the huge difference in the menu of how much smoother it is running. So that's been a good thing going forward. It's nice to have it there, but having it on the Xbox has been really nice. The only thing that was a little bit annoying was obviously like yesterday we had like shop class and Be Our Chef drop and a few of the shorts like Disney Insider and I think Disney Family Sundays and One Day at Disney. They're the same globally, but then they've done this weird thing of stretching out the content for Europe. So we only got like the second episode of most of the series, and then Clone Wars is getting 2 episodes a week. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll catch up. And it's like, well, why didn't you just give us the Clone Wars up till now? You know, all the current series, let everybody catch up. It's like Disney's Fairy Tale Weddings. They gave us the first episode and obviously the second episode yesterday. It's like, but the series is still rolling on. It's like really weird. And then like Encore in The World According to Jeff Goldblum, they gave us the whole seasons for. It's like the Mandalorian got the second episode and now we're on episode 3, got dropped yesterday, but everybody else got 2. It's like this really random assortment of release schedules. It's just like trying to explain it to people because we're going, well, where is everything? It's like, well, it's coming weekly, but this one's got it. Yeah, no, but that's different. It's like they made it the most awkwardest way of trying to explain what's available. I was doing up the article yesterday. Like, what do I do it singly? Do I do it in one article? Do I do it in two articles? And then I wrote it out as one, and I'm going, that doesn't make any sense if anyone's going to read it. And I was like, what a weird, wacky kind of launch window. It's just weird.
It might have made a certain amount of sense when things were normal. I mean, even then we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. Like it doesn't make an incredible amount of sense, but maybe there's some bean counter in the back room going, this is the way to do it. Because we saw the metrics on who was watching what, and these are the shows that will get people to come back week to week. But now we're in this situation where everybody is at home and they want content to watch. And I can understand why they'd be going, well, let's stretch The Mandalorian out. We want people to subscribe for the full amount of time that it will take for everything for things to get back to a semblance of normal. But you're also just like, at this point, people aren't going to come back. They are going to watch what they can watch. And if Netflix has the binges, if Hulu's got the things where you can sit down and you can watch all of Daredevil over the course of like 4 or 5 days, because what else are you going to do? They'll do that. And The Mandalorian, most people are just going to wait until week 8 comes out and then just binge that.
Yeah, I can completely understand the thing of releasing The Mandalorian weekly and trying to keep people subbed in for 2 months. I completely understand that. And I can even understand this weekly thing. But it's the inconsistency of where that's what is odd. It's like, well, why have you done this for this show and this for this show and that for that one, and this one's up to date and this one isn't. This one's ahead of these two, but it's like, okay, this is so. I mean, it's bad enough, and I'm just writing out a list of what's coming out for people. For anyone sat at home going, well, what's coming out today? It's just really, I don't know. And then of course, people are then seeing what's coming out in the US and going, well, why aren't we got that? And it's a global platform, and I don't think Disney are really grasping sometimes when this thing of global means global. You know, you put out a tweet onto Twitter, it's seen by everybody. It's not just seen by people in your country, and therefore, I think hopefully they're going to start taking some metrics from this and working out what the feedback is, and then they can take that forward into the next wave of other. It's like when it launches in Finland, are they going to get the same problem as well of getting pushed back even more? And then, you know, when it launches in Latin America, and then that's another 6 months later, and then suddenly, you know, they then got 40 different series all running week to week to week to week. It just seems to me more obvious just to catch up, launch it as of where it is right now, and let the weekly drop fill in each week. I can kind of get it with The Mandalorian. I can completely understand the reason to do it with The Mandalorian, but things like Disney fairy tale weddings, of like, really, do you think that's pulling in a massive amount of people that, you know, the season ends next week in the US, so why not just do day and date and get that one straight up to date? And you know, you did it for Shop Class, so why? I don't know. I don't like the inconsistency. I would much prefer a set. Well, okay, everyone's getting episode 1, and then next week episode 2, and then it's episode 3, or we're banging bait. This is weirdness of everything being all over the place. It seems a bit odd.
Yeah, it would just be nice if they'd make an official statement too. I mean,
they did send out a statement beforehand saying what they were doing with The Mandalorian and Clone Wars, and they did kind of put out that, and we will be releasing things weekly in most cases. That was literally the official statement I got sent. But seeing it in person was like, okay, this is really weird.
It would be nice to get a view into the house and why. Like, that's more what I meant.
Yeah. It's just,
it especially now with the way things have changed. Like, you don't necessarily need to release a show over 8 weeks or 14 weeks to get people to stay. People are going to stay now anyway because they need what's provided, especially if they have kids. They need something to distract people.
I mean, it's just weird things. Like, I think like Marvel Hero Project is 20 episodes. That means that show's not going to really end up the European run until maybe October, September, something like that. And it's like, really, do you really think that show is pulling in people weekly to watch it? And then thing like Pick of the Litter is only 6 weeks, so within like 4 weeks, half of these shows are kind of within a few months will be completely caught up anyway. But it just seemed odd on like, I almost look at it like the documentary series of going, why did you do that on like what I would consider? I mean, I could look at I know from my own metrics of whenever I do a video or an article or a story up on Facebook and YouTube and stuff, I can see the metrics of who's interested in what. And it's like, I'm sorry to say, but Marvel Hero Project probably wasn't pulling in massive numbers. And I don't know, it just seems very strange of how they've done it, of like, why they didn't do it with The World According to Jeff Goldblum, which I think is a much bigger show than, you know, Marvel Hero Project. I don't know, it's just very odd, very odd.
I don't know. And that's, I guess, let's move on from this because it's going in circles now. Yeah.
It's just odd.
This is us like being like, I haven't spoken to anybody in a week. Well, let's just keep that's not actually true, but yeah.
I need someone to talk to. Right. Okay. So moving on from there, European launch out the way. So now let's move on to DisneyNature. Disney are really going in hard on DisneyNature in April, because on April 3rd, we are getting the brand new documentary kind of movie thing, Dolphin's Reef, which is being narrated by Natalie Portman. This was supposed to be released a few years ago as Dolphins, but kind of got pulled back. And I'm not surprised after the sort of the amount of money that the other DisneyNature movies have pulled in. And then we're also going to be getting DisneyNature's Elephant, which is with Meghan Markle. She is doing the voice narration for that one, which is really strange because I don't know, the comments on this one here are not good. And I can see why Disney have released these both at the same time in the same trailer, because the comments are just, I don't know, this is not quite going maybe the way they thought it was when they were putting this announcement together.
I have no idea what the comments say, to be honest.
Well,
I've only watched the trailer.
Well, the thing is ultimately, obviously, we've got they're all going to be dropping on DisneyNet on the 3rd. It's also going to be the same day that Penguins releases on Disney Plus as well. There's also going to be free documentary behind the scenes, either shorts or a movie length one on each of them of how they made them. So we're going to get 3 movies plus 3 documentaries, plus there's going to be some other things coming throughout the month. And we're going to be getting Onward. So essentially we've got 4 movies dropping on Friday next week. And it's like, well, why aren't you releasing them weekly? Why aren't they spreading them out a little bit? And it's like, it just seems the interest in DisneyNature is very strange, because I was looking through all the box office numbers last night, and most of the movies never got released, barely got released outside of the US. They just didn't even bother on some of them. So like Penguins, I'm looking forward to seeing it because it's not even been released over here. This will be the first time we get to see it. I know that the 2 Disney Plus originals are going to be in the UK, but I don't know yet about the other one and Onward. But yeah, it's just really interesting them kind of like dropping all of these movies all on the same day.
Yeah, and this kind of follows on in the previous where, you know, why are these all getting together? I mean, we get the idea, as you mentioned, but there's just an inconsistency in how they're doing all these things.
Yeah, I think the way that they did that trailer of dropping Dolphin Reef and Elephant at the same time within the same trailer with somebody else doing the voiceover was because during the Elephant bit, it said at the bottom, narrated by Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, which instantly the whole, like, I think, you know, most of the UK and sort of Canada people were like, well, what excuse me? You know, she gave up the title, and then they go, well, she didn't give up that title, she's keeping another one. And it's like the comments coming in underneath of people going, oh, it's fine, and don't watch it. And then a lot of people going, I am not watching this, I will not watch it, I will not watch it. And I'm looking at this going, yeah, Disney have merged them together to pull back on the impact, because let's just say and it's been all on the British tabloids and the newspapers and stuff of, oh, she's moved to LA and now she's doing voiceover work and now she's got a movie out and she's using the title. I was like, oh yeah, Disney really didn't see all this coming when they signed her up for this. And yeah, it's broadcasting. It's a bad look because nobody really would like this. You know, Disney are going to take a hit on this. Is her first job post. You know, I know she's given the money to the Elephant charity, but it's it's bad luck on Disney's point.
Well, I think it all depends on perspective too. Like it looks bad in the UK because obviously that's where all the scandal happened. But scandal, whatever you want to call it, in the US though, most people still are big fans of her.
Yeah.
Like marrying the
Yeah.
regular the regular person marrying into royalty and then throwing off royalty, which is the American. Whether or not people really understand the history, they at least like, yes, we cast you lot out. We triumphed over you silly people in England, and so there's that whole thing. So in America, I think most people don't even really think about it. They're just like, oh, it's a British person doing a voiceover. Attenborough, whatever. We love the British voice on documentary. For other people, like, oh, she's the person who made it. She made the American dream turn English or whatever. But so over here, it's nothing at all. It's complete non-issue.
For me, it's that kind of thing. If she was she's an actress before, she's done projects before she married Harry, and that's fine. And if she wants to carry on doing all this, I don't have a problem personally with her doing it. I think that's what she wants to do. That's fine. I had my issue was with the title of her being it's like, no, she's given that up and doesn't want it anymore, but she's still happy to use it to promote that she's like, no, you can't have that. That's where Mulan was going. When it came up with the trailer, I'm going, oh, that's not going to go down very well. And then comments and it's like, yeah, that was a mistake because they're selling it as she's royalty and she's doing it. It's like, well, no, she didn't want to do it. It's like you can't have it both ways. And this is how a lot of it's been. And then she moved. It's a really it's so bad to see like a Disney Plus original getting negative. They're getting negative effects to this because obviously when this was made and the deals were made and she did the voiceover, nobody knew this was all happening. I mean, there still would have been a little bit of a backlash when she did it regardless over here. But yeah, this is not going to go down. It's not gone down very well on this side of the pond anyway. And I think even Canada, because they were all getting really annoyed because obviously they moved there and then they were having to pay for security and all the rest of it. And they weren't. And then they've left there, they go to America. And it's all been, I think it's all the Commonwealth were a little bit more annoyed at it than obviously, because from an American's point of view, it doesn't make a lot of sense of what the problems are. But obviously, for us over here, I was just like, oh, and looking at the comments again, I'm going, yeah, I see what it is. I can see why this is pulling in. And I see it from both sides here. And I'm going, yeah, Disney, you did. It's like, there's no way they should. It's like they've put out that trailer with the double thing for a reason, because they knew there was going to be a backlash.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's the title thing. I get that it's the title thing, but at the same time, Americans don't really have titles. We don't have dukes and duchesses and all that stuff. You get people who get very snippy if you don't call them a doctor when they have a PhD. That's about the full extent of it, but we don't have that ranking system. So I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, of course, that's what she is, and that was the full extent of my thought. It's like, oh yeah, because otherwise it'd be going, oh, who's Megan? I don't think I know a Megan. It's not a famous name, but they go Megan Duchess. Oh, okay, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. I think the closest you've got is the Kardashians at the minute, so that's down to you. Anyway, it's just like, you gotta have. Look, at this point, we've all got stir crazy in the house. So yeah, I am looking forward to these DisneyNature ones. I'll be on Penguins and the Dolphin Reef. I am interested in. Elephant, I am more interested in seeing it anyway. The whole Megan thing, it's like I'll still watch it, but be honest, out of the 4 movies, it is at the bottom of the pile of the 4 for me. And
the question would be, would you be watching it if you weren't going to have to review it for the website?
I probably would see how I got on with the other ones first, because I've mentioned before, DisneyNature is a really weird thing because of the way that it's set up in terms of the narration. I've talked about it a number of times of there's a different tone and a different way of language. That there's a reason why these movies do generally awful outside of the US at the box office, and why Disney kind of stopped releasing them at cinemas. They did, I think, Born in China, they did release in China and it brought in a lot, but generally they release it in a few different countries. They never even barely released them in the UK because the British audience just does not respond to this very well. They are fun. They are good to do. And the other thing as well, I just want to make a note of, with not just these ones coming in, but the other ones. If you go onto the official DisneyNature's website, you can download like an activity pamphlet, which has got like 30, 40 pages of questions for different age groups and tasks and stuff. So if you're looking for something to do at home to keep them entertained, watch the movie, and then you can kind of get them to sit down and do this activity book, and that could kill a bit more and bring a bit of educational to it. So I think if you're looking for something to do with Disney Plus, those are going to be, that's quite a cool thing to be doing. And there's quite a few movies on there. I don't mind them. I think they're kind of frivolous, but they're a bit, in some ways it can be a little bit condescending. I don't know if that's how it's really kind of so toned down in terms of like treating you like you don't know what this animal is. And it's a bit like, oof.
It's about target audience, though, as well. And I agree. I think even documentaries aimed at younger kids should still treat them as if they know something. Because most kids, at least the ones that I know, they're not going to go and watch an elephant documentary unless they already like elephants. Yeah. It's more about reinforcing what they like rather than going, ooh, what's this weird creature thing? Or I saw Dumbo and I want to know more about elephants. No, it's they already like elephants. They go to the zoo to see elephants. So they probably know a bit more. And I agree, especially when you have the entire National Geographic's back catalog there, you're like, maybe go a little bit more intelligent. I can see why they'd want to say like, well, the National Geographic's is for, the actual learning, and DisneyNature is to get you in the door. Yeah. So you watch elephants and then you go check out the National Geographic's elephant stuff.
It's just the fact that like even my 4-year-old nephew knows the name of like every single dinosaur perfectly. I was just like, and it's like, and animals is a thing. I always find with the DisneyNature ones, they're a little bit like, they've got a nice little story to them and they're kind of going along. But with 3 of them on one day, I don't know if I can do all 3 of them in a day. I think my plan will be to do 1 and Onward on Friday, and then Saturday morning I'll do the other Disney Plus original. Probably keep out the Penguins for later in the week for when we talk about it next week. But I think 3 on one day and all those documentaries, it's a lot. It just seems an odd release schedule. I know they want to get them out for Earth Day, but it just, the rest of April looks a little bit dry. So why? I don't know. They're going to get lost behind Onward. That's the problem.
Everything is going to get lost behind Onward, just like everything is already getting lost behind Frozen 2. Yeah. But, once you finally do get tired of those, there are all these other things waiting. Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk as well, obviously, with as you mentioned there, Frozen 2 wasn't available at launch in Europe, and it had a date of July 22nd or July 16th, something like that, different dates in Europe. That's because the DVD actually doesn't come out till like Monday over here. So I think they've held off on that. And in some ways, it would make a nice big hit next week or the week after for Europe to go, oh, now you've got Frozen 3 months early. They've done the same thing of, here's the date. You remember you're not getting it till July. Oh, here you go. I think they're going to do the same. I just don't think they wanted that on. Same thing with Onward. They've not mentioned Onward at all. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes, because I think Canada has been confirmed now, but how that's going to work in terms of everyone, in terms of maybe the contracts in each year, in each place. But that movie's so, it's forever going to have an asterisk next to its name whenever you look at the history books of just like, this was the movie that came out just as the world closed down, and there's a reason why it only took like 100 million at the box office. And even Good Dinosaur did 300 million, but Onward, and also I didn't quite get the idea of them kind of going, and it's coming to Disney Plus like a week later or 2 weeks later, because it's like me and going, well, I'm not going to buy it. I'll just wait 2 weeks. And I've already missed it by 4 weeks. I might as well wait another 2 weeks and save myself $20. But yeah, they need to get this all in line. I mean, Onward is, my only issue with Onward is now set expectations so high that, where's Rise of Skywalker? Like I said, I was watching it just before we started recording. It's out on Blu-ray on Tuesday, and it's like they need that probably need that for May and June. Maleficent. They've given you Frozen 2 last month. They're giving you Penguins and Onwards in April. They've got to stretch them out a little bit, because you're still going to be selling at home at the end in May. Remember, so yeah, they are probably holding on for that reason.
A lot of Americans still think this is going to be done very quickly. And they still haven't come around to no, this is going to be a while, and that might have infected the executive levels too, where like let's just weather these few weeks that this is happening, and then we'll go back to business. Like this is not a
well, I
thing.
think Disney announced the theme parks are closed now till like mid to late April. I think they did the US and also Tokyo and Paris have all kind of had stuff delayed. Yeah, I mean,
I know that the Paris marathon got canceled too.
Yeah,
because it took them a long time to cancel the Star Wars run in April, where the people were just like, "Are we doing this? Are we doing this?" And then Paris, they're like, "No, we're pulling the plug right now. Don't even worry about it."
It's a shame because my sister-in-law was training to do that one. It's just that kind of thing of. I think this has gone on for a lot longer. Apparently, all the cinemas, like a load of cinemas, reopened in China, and then by the end of the day, were closed back down again. They didn't even. I don't think they even lasted a day open before they all got shut down again. And this is going to obviously go on for a long time. So we need to just remember that they've got to stretch out those movies. This whole thing of everyone sat at home now, we still could be sat here in another 6 to 8 weeks, in the same situation, and it's horrendous thinking about it like that, but. Yeah, and Disney have to. I think this is where this goes on to the thing I wanted to bring up next. Was there was a survey that went out, got sent to me on Twitter. It might have originated from Reddit. It's kind of one of those things if I don't actually really know now where it came from. And there was a survey that said that they were asking people what you wanted to be coming to Disney Plus, and it said one of the questions was how likely would it be if you watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly, Modern Family, How I Met Your Mother, Blackish, and Malcolm in the Middle. Now, this one kind of really caught my attention. I went onto each one, onto Amazon to go and have a look to see what the ratings for each of these shows were, just to kind of make sure that it was kind of realistic. And I thought this list was very interesting for a couple of different things. First off, just in terms of ratings, so we know where we're sat at, both Buffy and Firefly are 14, TV 14, while all the rest are PG, including How I Met Your Mother. Because there's a lot of people going, whoa, Barney goes off of all these goes. Yeah, but you don't actually, it's all said, but not actually shown kind of thing. And looking at that list of going, when they've been talking about all these problems like with Disney Plus and its maturity levels and what's available and all the rest of it, seeing that list of going, that's quite a good lineup. If you were to put that lot on, say, for example, in April or May, while everybody's at home, most of them are already on Hulu. And I know some people go, they've got them on Hulu. It's like, yeah, but the rest of the world doesn't. And now we've got to start thinking, Europe and Australasia and other places have all got Disney Plus as well now. It's not just about how America, which is with Hulu.
Yeah, and it's going back to that earlier conversation. We need to start thinking about this, as more than America, because we Americans tend to be very so. To be fair, most countries are pretty centric based on their local region, but Americans tend to be a little bit more vocal about it. And we do need to realize, we have it on Hulu doesn't mean you have it on Hulu.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in the group of someone going, it's just going to be on there. No, it's on Hulu. And then people go, but we don't have Hulu. Yeah, you do. No, it's on Netflix. Not over here, it isn't. Or this is, and there's this kind of thing of people, well, it's just like, no, because everything is not the same around the world, and people don't often realize that. But I looked at this list and went, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is funny because a load of people are like, no, you can't put that on. It's vampire hunting, and I'm going, it's on at like 6 o'clock. I used to watch it 6 o'clock in the afternoon while we're eating our dinner with you had The Simpsons on one side and Buffy and the Vampire Slayer on the other. And I'm like going, it was a 6 o'clock TV show. It's prime time kind of TV with your parents kind of thing. I was just like, yeah, I'm there going, oh, that was a never even. Of course, a load of other people went off in a completely different direction. I'm going, yeah, but that is quite a safe. It's not Lucifer, and even that's a bit. I mean, it's quite tame in some ways.
Yeah, it's kind of been interesting to see over the past several weeks, not just for the Buffy story or Firefly or whatever, but people kind of forgetting what was okay for them to grow up with. And it's obviously a different perspective. Yeah. As a kid, you see things one way, and then when you have kids, you see things a completely different way of, you want to be, we can't do The Simpsons, that covers issues that you don't want to talk about with your kid, or the jokes are too mature. But at the same time, you're kind of like, yeah, we watched these with our parents, and most of us turned out okay. I would hope at least most of us turned out okay. And it's like, kids are smarter than you give them credit for. Once you get past a certain age, before a certain age, they're just dumb as bricks. But they can handle complex ideas. They can handle complex morality. The worst thing that happens is you put on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and maybe they don't understand it, but then they're just going to move on to something else, and you just go, all right, we'll watch something else. I don't know, this whole idea of like, it's on there, therefore you have to watch it, therefore I have to protect my kids from it. I mean, I'm not a parent, so I can't get into that mindset, and I understand that it is a very different mindset, but I'm just like, so don't watch it.
Put it on. I think I always find it funny because, again, this morning, Saturday morning, on one channel we had Tinkerbell's Secret Treasure. I changed to the next channel over, and it was The Simpsons. This was at 10 o'clock this morning. This is Saturday morning cartoons for the UK is The Simpsons. So I've always will keep going on about the fact that I don't think of it as that. But Disney Plus does have a child section where you click, you make a profile for children, and you go in there, and it's filtered everything out. And I think the only thing they have to do is get the password or a PIN number onto the adult version, so that if you want it, so that the kids can't flick over like you can on other ones. So, but I mean, I'm looking at this list and going, if you don't want your kids to watch How I Met Your Mother, but are they going to want to watch it? Is a 7-year-old going to want to sit there and watch? They're not going to want to. It's not their kind of. It's not meant for them. But I'm looking at this going, this is to get adults watching Disney Plus. This is to get teenagers to start watching. This is binge-worthy. We're all stuck in. Let's get some content. I mean, none of the stuff might not even turn up on Disney Plus. It's just a survey. We've seen all these things in the past. Malcolm in the Middle didn't surprise me at all. They mentioned it last year in a press release on an event. They put that it was coming, and it never did. I mean, to me, it's like Modern Family and Blackish and Malcolm in the Middle. They are all TV series about a family. If that's not family friendly, I don't know quite. It's like, okay, How I Met Your Mother, I can kind of, but it's a PG. It's a PG rated series. So therefore, it's and I don't know. I think we're at a point now where Disney are maybe looking at it going, well, we went too young. Now we need to look at what else we've got on our archive. What else can they digitize to put on there and start bulking out Disney Plus much more, especially for a global audience. I think I read earlier, I think even maybe like Dark Phoenix is coming to like Disney Plus in the Netherlands. It's not going to be far off arriving. My wife, literally, we're going through Disney Plus, and because this was the first time really she's been able to flick through it properly. And she was like going, why is Winnie the Pooh next to Wolverine? It literally, because we were just going down for the movie, and she said it's a load of kid stuff, and then suddenly Winnie the Pooh, then Wolverine, and
it's the crossover we want.
Well, it's just because it was obviously alphabetical,
right? Yeah.
And she goes, "Is Logan on here?" I said, "No, they didn't put Logan on here." She goes, "Oh," I said, "Yeah." She goes, "It just seemed really." She said, "Because we haven't got quite as much of the National Geographic content, it was a lot of like kids' TV series," and she was just like, "Winnie the Pooh to Wolverine. Well, that's quite a jump."
Like I said, it's the crossover we all have been looking forward to.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought this was quite an interesting lineup, and I think it would help. There's no reason just because it's on Hulu that it can't be used and crossover. There's no reason at all, because if they've got the rights to it, they can do it. I think something like Modern Family and Blackish and Malcolm, some of these ABC shows are perfect binge-worthy TV content, especially for that international audience where we don't have access to it. I mean, there's going to be some different licensing issues, like with Sky and so forth, but a lot of that stuff has been taken off. But yeah, I just thought that was a really interesting idea of going, okay, that's could really help boost out that adult stuff, because again, my wife was looking through the things going, there's not really a lot here for me to watch. I was like, okay. It's like I knew that was going to be the case, because especially over here in the UK, the TV lineup there was about maybe 60 to 70 series less than in the US, and about majority of them were the National Geographic ones. So it's very much just like Disney Channel Kids Show, Disney Channel, Disney Channel, Disney Channel, Disney Channel, National Geographic, and then it's just more DisneyNature. So you're looking through the TV series going, oof, and it's a lot there. Quite a few series that I wanted to watch that aren't on there yet, and I was like, okay, things like that. I mean, to me, it's like if you can put, Wicked Tuna, 6 seasons of that, which is a TV 14, then why not Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Because there's nothing very obvious in the title or description of Wicked Tuna that makes you understand why it's PG-14.
Yeah, but it's an evil tuna. He's probably doing world domination.
I don't think that's what that show's about. But you have my attention. That is not what that show is about, just in case anyone.
Oh, it was just that Wicked Tuna that I had for lunch. That was it. So I just think that was, again, very interesting to see where they're going forward with this, how it's all going to work, whether or not we are going to start seeing some things like that rolling out, maybe more internationally than maybe in the US because of Hulu. But nice to see going forward on that one there. Right, let's look now at Be Our Chef, which was a brand new series that launched on Disney Plus yesterday. It's presented by a woman that did The Office. I'm going to be honest, I had never seen her before. I've never watched The Office. I didn't really like the English version, so I'd never really bothered with the American version. Watched it with my wife last night, and I'm really glad it was only about half an hour long. I'm glad they didn't go the full 45-minute like they did with Shop Class, but it was like, it felt like what, as we called it last night, a CBeebies cookery show. It was what we would expect to be on the children's BBC channel, because it just was like, ooh, the presenter was just shouting and just being really just like, oh, cringy. I was just like, okay.
Well, then, that is the Office style humor. Cringe.
Yeah, but it was, I don't know. It was just like, oh, okay, I don't like you. And then I did like the fact that like the parents seemed to be cooking it and taking it seriously. I could have quite easily have tucked into that bacon and egg and potato hash. That did look quite tasty. I could have quite easily have eaten that on there. But then they had that like task with the corn and the cob, and it's like you've basically got a handicap match here, because that 4-year-old girl is not helping the mum in the slightest. And I'm going, and why would you? And it's like you've basically put them into lockout, and now their food is going to burn and catch fire. That didn't seem the smartest of things to do. You can't touch your food for 3 minutes because we're putting you in lockdown. Like, yeah, but if that catches fire, and I mean, he has had to deal with a fire, and he did it very well, but it just seemed a bit like, hey, what? That's not the safest things to do during a cookery show.
Yeah, I wasn't too fond of that either, because it felt like the show didn't need a gimmick like that. People don't watch cooking shows for the same reason they watch Survivor or Big Brother or something like that. It's not the artificial drama that the producers kind of throw in there. And it's like, no, the whole point of the cooking show is to see what these people create in relatively normal conditions. Normally you don't have, Chef Ramsay or Angela from The Office yelling at you while you're doing it, but otherwise normally you've got your supplies, you've got your, I haven't actually seen that episode of it, but I know the meme. Anyway, it felt like they wanted to do something to make it different, to make it stand out, and I was just like, no. And honestly, I will probably continue to watch this because the final results were really cool. I did love the 2 dishes that they had at the end, and like you, I would eat this. This looks really good. But I could see myself just being like, okay, I'm going to watch the first 5 minutes to get an introduction on what's going on, find out who the people are, and then I'm going to jump to like the 15 or 20 minute, not the 20 because that's the credits, but like the 15-minute mark where they're getting down to the wire. They're the last bits of, the marinade's not going to be ready in time for that kind of thing, and then get to the final tasting. But all the stuff in the middle, even by cooking show standards, it's kind of like, this is fluff. This is a whole bunch of unnecessary. And this is the American version versus the British version of like the Great British Cook-Off or Nightmare Kitchens or whatever, where we have to do that drama, and just like, I don't want it. I just want to see what they're making. I want to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we have things like MasterChef, and then they do like a kids version. They do the same thing with Hell's Kitchen. They do like a kids version. So it wasn't too far off. It was just a little bit along the lines of like having a 4-year-old in there. It just seemed like a handicap to the family rather than a help. And she's just running around and just kind of completely was like, I know that it's that kind of same thing of going back to being family friendly doesn't mean you have to have kids in it. It doesn't. That's not how it works. But I see where they were going with it, and it's like, I mean, the set looked really impressive. I thought that looked great. It needs a little bit of tinkering, but obviously they might have changed a few bits going forward. But the one thing I think I really, and I'm finding this with both Shop Class and Be Our Chef, the interaction, which I don't think the presenters are right. They don't seem to have any like interaction with the kind of the contestants, rather than just like making really bad puns and just like cringe. Like, these people have never presented before. They've just been thrown a show because they've been in a movie once, and they're not really great presenters. Justin Long in like Shop Class seems to have, as the series have gone on, he's just spending like some really bad puns with the kids, and like, yeah, are we getting any more of this, or we're just, I don't know. It might just be again a difference of opinion between what I'm used to watching here in the UK and the US, but there didn't seem to be a lot.
No, and I think this isn't even really a US thing too, because that's not typical. I think this was Disney trying to find an angle that might be fun for kids, and kind of missing, because you watch the Shop Class episodes, and when they interview the kids, a lot of the times they're like, yeah, he was really annoying. And you're like, and if the kids are on camera telling you that your presenter is annoying, maybe rework it. And at least going back to Be Our Chef, at least this is only 20 something minutes long as opposed to the 40. Because I have to admit, with, you know, where I was talking about earlier, where I'd skip middle parts, that has definitely happened with Shop Class, where I'm just like, okay, what's the project? Cool. I am now jumping to see what the completion is, because it's just, I'm not sitting through the rest of this.
Shop Class could do with that little bit of a trim, just kind of get it. I did, when I checked the time about halfway through, when I had to get up and like put the pizza in the oven, and it was just like, okay, I've only got 10 minutes left. My wife did say to me at that point, don't bother pausing it. So it was just like, when we were done, it was like, okay, because don't make me watch another episode of this. But okay, fine. Because, you know, we just before it, we watched the Great British Bake Off for Stand Up to Cancer. So we do like cookery shows, but it just was very much on the lines of, we need a little bit more substance in this. The presenter just seemed to be shouting at the people and trying to be funny, but really just, I don't know. And also, again, it felt very forced at the beginning with the Walt Disney connection. I mean, they were really pushing that.
I mean, they have to have something, I guess. But I think I would have preferred if it was just, okay, you're making a breakfast and it's got to look like Mickey Mouse ears at the end. Yeah, something like that would have been a much better connection. And it is worth keeping in mind, a lot of shows, even game shows or competition shows, when they first start out, they haven't found their voice. They haven't found out their little niche that separates them from the rest. And Disney, of course, is trying to artificially do that. But after so many episodes, I don't know, it'll be a half dozen, a dozen, 2 seasons. It will find what works for it, and it'll get there. It's just kind of annoying sitting through the beginning when they're still trying to work it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like the thing of like bringing in the Disney chefs in. It's like, okay, I see what you're trying to do here, trying to kind of make out that these are like special, you know. It's like, but doing the same thing really with Shop Class, where that feels a bit forced, where they bring the Imagineer in, and it was in one of my written review of Shop Class this week of going, like the judge in this Be Our Chef one, he was a little bit more critical. He was a bit more realistic. He didn't pull the punches just because there was a little girl in front of him. He said he didn't like it, or it didn't eat this or that, and I thought that was good. He didn't, because sometimes they can be a bit too sugar coated to the point of, if he doesn't like it. I mean, I did look at the soap and I thought the soup, you know, in the bowl, I thought it looked great. You know, the soup in the bowl to make look like a carriage, I thought that was good. And then it's like, well, you just got a brie and cranberry toasted sandwich. I cook that at work, or what I normally do anyway. But it's like, and this is like, okay. And then there's a homemade soup. It was like, didn't really seem, whereas the other one at least looked like a meal and all the rest. I don't know. There was parts of it where I was like, okay, I like where you're going. But that it's like, we're at Walt Disney World. Are you? You could have filmed this in any soundstage anywhere. And bar the chef coming in, he could have they could have been filming that in Alaska. It wouldn't have made any difference. It didn't look like they were. I know they showed the bit with them running around in front of the castle, but it's like the whole bit with them going and meeting Cinderella was like, ooh, it's a bit like this. Yeah.
You're filling time. You're absolutely filling time, and you're acting as an advertisement for Disney. But I think we all kind of expect that on the Disney Plus. Kind of a counterpoint to what you were talking about, though. If the objective was to do something that you might sell in the park, at a stall or something, it kind of like, don't go fancy with the food, like the ingredients. Stick with the staples. Go with stuff that's going to appeal to a broad audience, and go with the presentation. And that's where I was kind of like, okay, the carriage is a very simple meal. I am by no means a particularly good cook, but I could probably I could make something like that myself. But if I go to the park, I don't want the super fancy food. I don't want unless I'm going to a sit down restaurant. We're talking about the quick service, grab it, go sit in one of the pavilion chairs or whatever. I don't want fancy. I just want something that's going to fill me up. I can get back into the park and do park stuff. So you want staple food, and if that's the objective, then the carriage is spot on, because you've got that Disney. You've got that Disney visual appeal to it because it's the carriage, but the food is very straightforward. It's very simple. You're not going to have to worry too much about a picky eater. I know a lot of kids are picky eaters. A lot of adults are picky eaters.
A tomato soup in a bowl of bread is, and like I said, that would be like an Instagrammable kind of food, and it made it felt like I said, the food in it did look the way I'm glad they had the adults in there doing it, because I dread to imagine what would have happened had they not been there. But it was. I mean, it looked, all the food looked good, and the chef that was doing the judging, he really. I mean, but wasn't there 3 chefs and the other 2 didn't even come forward, didn't they?
Yeah, maybe they were just introducing them, and each of them will get their own episodes or something. That was a little bit like, why did you introduce all of these people if you're not going to use them? I think it was more setting up the season rather than
it's the same thing with Shop Class, because they have these 3 judges coming in, and it's like, one of them I don't think even barely gets to speak. They do a little bit of a spin on the Imagineering guy or woman, and then here's the winner. But they never sort of show them having a vote or choosing or what, arguing between them of who should have won and all the rest of it. And this person, like what you're used to seeing with these kind of shows, I think they need to kind of tweak them a bit for if they come back for second seasons, because at the minute it just feels a lot of spaghetti being thrown against the wall to find out what's going to work, what's going to pull some numbers in. Maybe these shows will pulling in good enough numbers if the budget is small, because the sets look good, but I can't imagine that they're not really going to spending a lot of money on these. But they're going to need a lot of these things once all this crisis is over, just to fill the void while they're filming stuff. And these things are quick to turn around.
Yeah, that was going to be my point, is that, even if it's not super popular, even if it only draws in a couple thousand views per week or whatever their threshold is, they're cheap to produce. All you really have is the cost of the food and the cost of flying people in, which they do all the time anyway. And you can film like 10 of them in a day easily. And it's very easy content to produce. And again, by the end of all of this, when we're several months in and you've already watched The Mandalorian 12 times, even then you're going, just give me something, anything to work with here.
I think actually having Disney having a constant flow of quiz shows and things like this, I think is actually a very good thing. I don't have a really, these shows have kind of gone like, okay, I know what they are. They're fine. They fit a niche. There will be people interested in them. They will keep going. But it feels almost like Shop Class should have finished before Be Our Chef started. It's like one should have finished, then the following week, the next one starts. And then when this one finishes, maybe the Jedi Challenge one starts. So they only ever have the one on at the same time, because, too many of them starts going, oh, this is all we've got. It's filler. But one episode a week we could have gotten away with. But these shows have so much legs in them. And it's like, here we have in at 5 o'clock every night, we have Pointless on one channel and The Chase on another. And there's quiz shows going on every single night of the week. And they go 5 nights a week, and they are running for thousands of episodes. And people love them. They're cheap to make. people like watching them, going along with them and doing quizzes and stuff. So I think Disney are onto something with this format. I'm watching both of these at the same time, going, they could tweak this, move them around a little bit. Shop Class could become a regular thing, and they could get these right. But I think they just need to tweak them a little bit more. Maybe, like I say, not put two of them out at the same time, because there was we're already comparing them, because we're only 4 episodes into Shop Class. We still got another 4 weeks of that. I don't know. I'm just looking at this now, just going, yeah, we could have done without Be Our Chef till maybe until Shop Class had finished.
And maybe give him a little bit more time to edit that as well. But speaking on like game shows and quiz shows and stuff, I mean, they're so popular here in the States that we have channels dedicated to just running them entirely.
Yeah. And old ones.
And old ones and new ones. And if you want to watch Family Feud any given point in time, you can watch Family Feud without having to go video on demand. You just turn to the right channel. Yeah. I think a staple of people growing up in the States is, you'd have a sick day, a normal sick day, not a quarantine sick day, back in elementary school or middle school. And assuming you were not completely zonked out by whatever was afflicting you, you were probably watching The Price is Right, because that is what is on in the middle of the day.
Yeah. I mean, we have it here, they've got but then you've got what I would call daytime, the lower end ones. And then you get to the evening ones where they get a bit better. And then you have the prime time quiz shows, which are higher. And you kind of have these different qualities. And these ones, Shop Class and that, is they've kind of gone middle. And then they but because they went a little bit too kiddie, they kind of pulled them back a bit. Because I mean, like I said, both of the sets of both of these shows and the way that they've done it up and the visual effects and all the rest of it, going, they've spent some money on this, but they've not got the content right. Like I said, I've watching the bridge episode of Shop Class last week. It's it all collapsed, and now you got the pressure on, but then nothing happens, and then you're like, yeah, okay. It's just you kind of need that whole thing. I don't know. They've just got to find the line, and I do think these things have got a bit of life in them. Whether or not they come back for second seasons, or whether or not they tweak them, I think Be Our Chef has probably more chance of staying around than maybe Shop Class, if they can tweak it a little bit better. Because I think food is just always popular. Shop Class is harder to measure.
And it's easier to do food because, you give them the time limit, you have an hour to do this, you have a half hour to do that, and then you're done. Shop Class, going back to say the book, the libraries from the first episode, that's not a single afternoon project. That's a couple days. I think 3 days is how long they have. It takes more time for them to produce this content. They've got to follow these kids around for 3 days. That's 3 days that the Imagineers or whoever they've got in to help are using up. Whereas the cooking, you sit the judge down, they sit there, they make some snarky comments, half an hour, eat some food, you're done. That it's not a big time commitment. It's not a big money commitment.
They probably were able to get the entire season knocked out in the time it takes them to make one episode of Shop Class. I'm just going to have
honestly probably true.
Because if they did 2 or 3 a day, they could get through the whole lot in 3 days and use the set and all the rest. I'm just going to see how many episodes were of the new season of Be Our Chef. 11 episodes, random number. But so we've got 11 episodes. So interesting to see where they go with that one, because that's obviously 3 months we've got this one. But yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they got them all knocked out in a week, 2 weeks max. So hopefully, if the numbers are up, it was definitely noticeable yesterday when the stories have been going up and the trailers have been going up that the interest was not there on mainstream level. It's one of those. It's always one of those really annoying things. There's nothing original on Disney Plus. Well, we put the original stuff on there, no one watches.
It's the same old song and dance, and we've talked about it plenty of times. Oh, we don't want the Lion King remake. Stop destroying it. Goes makes $1 billion. We want something original and
onward. Bang! No one goes to see it.
Well,
but
asterisks.
Yeah. I don't know. It is a very strange thing of how people react to all of this stuff. But generally, as a whole, I mean, it's just we're in this weird bit, I think, with Disney Plus. And I don't know whether or not, in some ways, the virus is actually. I think Disney Plus was kind of starting to dip in terms of popularity a bit of people maybe going, there's not really enough on here, I'll wait till the thing. And no, the US subscribers had kind of flattened off because interest generally as a whole, you could see on the data that the search traffic for Disney Plus, when you look at the trends, was going down, whereas Netflix was kind of going up. And then we've kind of had the whole situation, and suddenly there's been this massive upswing, and then you've had the European launch on top. So suddenly now it's, the subscriber numbers have just skyrocketed, and now there's so many more people watching it and all these things. But it's just this mass collection of classic stuff is what's pulling everybody in right now. But no, it was definitely interesting to see how all of this is kind of hitting of now, how Disney Plus kind of came, like you said, that comfort food kind of thing.
Yeah, it's safe. It's simple. You're going to get something you can at least watch. And a lot of the times too, if you want to, just have it on while you're playing on your smartphone, maybe you're trying out, what was the Disney Sorcerer's Arena or whatever launched this week, and absolutely smacked you in the face with the amount of money that they want you to throw at the game. But you can sit there and play that while you've got Be Our Chef or unless you're in the UK, some National Geographic show or something like that.
Yeah, it was odd really, because like I said, like Be Our Chef went global all on the same day, which was good. But yeah, it is a bit of odd, I must be honest. I am currently playing Ori and the Wisps or something like that on Xbox. Xbox Game Pass, which is, and I need to play. There's a few other things, but that's been my main video game. It's like, I know Sorcerer's Arena launched and they're doing all these classic games and going, nope, I've got Xbox Game Pass. If it's still on that, I'm not spending any money. Right now, I'm in full down. I have my subscriptions, and if it isn't covered on that, I ain't dipping into my pocket.
It's really funny, not to go too far into the weeds on this, but it was like the first time I turned my Xbox on to actually play a game for the first time this year. I think maybe since Halloween last year, I booted up Halo because I wanted to play Halo Reach because I remember liking that game. Apparently, I've completely lost the ability to play first-person shooters on with a controller because I'm like, wait, hold on, no, I want it to go up, not down. Invert the controls. Wait, no, now I'm backwards again. And it's like I'm ashamed of myself. I forgot how to play with a controller.
It's. I must be honest. I think, and I look at like how these subscription models and stuff have changed, and of like I'm looking at like my WWE one, and now all the problems that they're having with all the situation of we've got like WrestleMania next week, and it's all, and I'm just going, I'm not really watching it. I need to, if I'm not I'm definitely spending £10 a month on this after WrestleMania, and it's like the thing of people are going to be doing that, and people will be looking at Disney. If their kids are watching one movie a day, it's going to quickly very good. Yeah, fine. This is worth it. £6 a month, whatever. And that's where it's going to come in right now. And also they can set this up because if lots of people are watching it now, that annual pass or the 3-year pass is suddenly going to seem so much worth it because they will be able to get their entire probably year's worth out of it. Because essentially, if the kids are out of school now till like September, that's a long time at home. Disney Plus is almost essentially now going to become a mainstream. You've got to have it if your kids are home. And apparently, I think was it 55% of the population of the US have Disney Plus if they've got kids. And it's like, I'm not surprised because it's at that price, it's ridiculous. Especially here, it was like 50 quid for a year's worth. It's £4 a month, literally £1 a week. If you're not, it's like you only have to watch one thing a week, as far as I'm concerned, for it to be value for money. Obviously, this is where again, how many people are looking at all their monthly subscriptions and going to cut what we're not watching, or going, everyone's struggling with, a lot of people are struggling with finances and stuff. Just like now, just going, right, I'm not spending any money. I've got my subscriptions. That's what I need. I can't use anything more than that. If a new video game or a movie comes out, it's like, no, I've got mountains of stuff on streaming and I don't need to buy anything. I've got so much here. And I think that's, again, where people are trying to save money, where these streaming services can really pick up.
Yeah, people who've got a backlog of video games, books, movies, anything. I think a lot of people are looking at going, all right, I can't justify spending right now because I'm not sure if my income is stable at the moment. I don't know whether or not you have a job
Yeah.
at the moment, whether or not you unfortunately got hit with something because of all this, people are going, no, I've got to make sure that I've got money for necessities. So, that book that I bought 4 years ago, put on the shelf, that's getting read because that money's already spent. I'm not getting it back.
Well, I mean, I think it's like this whole thing, like we said with Onward, if it's $20 to buy it, obviously you can watch them, and there's that thing of if they said it's coming to Disney Plus in June, I might have been more tempted to rent it at £5, but there was like no chance I'm going to buy it. I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot with, but I still think Onward seems to be the exception. I think even Frozen 2. I mean, I know why they did that, but those two movies, putting them on so early, have set this whole chain of motion have raised expectations of what Disney can do, and I don't think they in some ways have caused a problem for themselves by doing it. And then there's a whole other question of how long this is going to go on, and whether or not theaters when they're going to reopen, will people go back the same way? Has the system that, will people more likely stay at home and watch streaming and, watch digital? It's going to change so many habits over the next couple of months of all of this, that it is going to have a long run. I don't think it will ever go back to normal. No,
the movies especially are going to be a paradigm shift in how we view them and how they're produced and how they're released. The entire market's going to change. Now, it could end up being that drive-in movie theaters have a renaissance where people because I know they're popular at the moment because you get to keep the social distancing aspect and you still get to see the theater experience. But I don't see movies. Now, you could argue the flip side, though. We're in quarantine or shelter at home or whatever for, I don't know, let's say 3 months. You get to 3 months plus 1 day and people are like, I need to go to the theaters right now. I need to do something that feels normal. Yeah. And all of a sudden theaters just have a boom.
Yeah. I think, people, going out to beaches and stuff like that and parks, and I think that's good. But there's that part of me that wonders, will people want to, where we're all going to be so conditioned of like you go out for a walk and you're stepping away from people and walking out and moving away from people, when you're sitting in a theater next to two people on either side of me that I do not know, coughing, eating their sweets. This is going to set paranoia up for the rest of your life. And then there's the other thing as well of moving forward of, if it starts becoming, if we have the swing back round again in the fall, that could then have this knock-on effect of because they're already talking about how it could be kind of, these measures are going to have to come in and out depending on what's going on. And, we could get all through this and then suddenly it swings back around again in the fall. And then we're kind of back into this, people not going to cinemas again. And whether or not the cinemas are going to be there. I mean, they're all furloughed and all the rest of it, and they're getting bailouts. But, if they have a bad 6 months after everything comes back, whether or not they can survive all the rest of it, I know a lot of businesses are going to need to not only get back up and running, but they're going to need to be taking more money than they were before they closed down to keep going. And I don't know, with cinemas, they were a bit ropey before they went into all of this, and now this has just speeded it all up. But it does show you Disney were right at the right time to be there for this with Disney Plus. And like you said, HBO Max and Comcast ones and all the rest of it, they don't want to push their launches back, but I think I think Comcast start theirs April for certain customers. I don't know when is HBO's May. Yeah.
I'm not sure on HBO Max. Obviously, I'm keeping a fairly close eye on that one because it's got a catalog of movies and shows that looks amazing. And I hope they keep the timetable. And it's another one where I'm alongside people going, release it now. I know it's not ready, but if you can. HBO, if they can get that out, there's some shows on there that will be definitely help.
We've just finished off HBO's The Outsider last night, and then I started up HBO's The Avenue 5, and that was awful. And then I think what else is it? My wife is, she goes, "Are you actually going to finish Game of Thrones? Now you got all this time." I'm like, I don't know yet.
You might as well just to be part of the in group that knows what everyone's complaining about.
I've seen the first 1.5 seasons, but that's about it. But
no, you've got a ways. Now, in that case, I don't know. You could watch and then stop at the end of season 6, maybe.
Yeah, it's that thing of, like I said, I was just trying to. I don't want to. I'm really very, very much aware of the fact that I do not want to sit on that couch watching TV and movies, because what I find then is you get to about 5 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you've had enough. You don't, and then my wife comes back from the hospital, and then suddenly, then, you know, she wants to chill out and watch TV, and you're like, oh, so I'd much rather play games, make videos, do articles, go out for walks, just build Lego, and just kind of stay away. Trying to do the exact opposite, I think, of what of the thing of like, I can't, it's like, but I still got to get, you know, all these movies and stuff in. But yeah, I'm just being very cautious of the idea of not spending too much time, because it's going to be a long time. But nevertheless, I think that pretty much wraps up most of the Disney Plus news from this week. And thank you very much for joining us and obviously listening. And hopefully you guys are enjoying Disney Plus as well, especially those of us in Europe. We'll be back next week with some more Disney Plus news. Hopefully next week as well, we'll be doing our thoughts on some of these new DisneyNature documentaries and Onward and things like that. And until that note, we shall see you guys in another episode. Laters. Wash your hands.